Whew, hey everybody. Happy 4th of July. It's been a minute since I've done a stream here. I don't have too much going on, so uh, figured I'd check in. And maybe 6 months since I did a little live stream last time. I just actually got done doping my dog with with meds for the holidays. It's thundering already. I actually gave him some incentives yesterday, and like my dog's gator's brain like misfired on it, and it was pouring rain, and I went uh to leave, and he ran out in the rain and just laid in the front yard. It's so peculiar. Um, anyhow, I hope everyone's been doing well. I've just been doing the work thing primarily, trying to stay a little healthy. Uh, Save, invest, all that fun stuff. Hmm, interesting. But you know, hey Michael, how you doing? You still doing your blog? Um, yeah. Oh, good. I'm glad you're still doing your blog. Um, I don't do a lot of anything except the occasional mentoring nowadays. I'm just so busy with work. I wouldn't say I'm busy. A lot of my maybe that's not the correct way of putting it. A lot of my emphasis is put on other things in life. uh, you know, when you're single, you gotta kind of and you work remotely. It really takes a lot out of you to go and meet people and uh, go out in public or dating apps, all that sort of stuff. So, um, yeah, every once in a while, I think about going back to YouTube, trying to get that silver play button, but uh, I usually say no to it because it's just me trying to fan my ego a bit. Because I think the second I'd get the silver play button, I'd stop doing YouTube, which doesn't seem like a good motivator just to get basically a trophy. Um, but it is what it is. How's your blog doing? Yeah. I am still at the same job that I've had for almost 3.5 years, which is kind of fucking crazy to me, given that like before that I had like 7 jobs in like 8 years. But I do very much so seem like where I'm at and seem to be progressing. So, you know, here we are. Uh, Doing the corporate America thing. I'm selling a house though. So I'm selling my rental property. It's up for sale for the past 2 weeks. So gonna figure out if I'm going to be moving, if I'm going to sit on it for a bit. I got to figure out some family stuff that happens, but uh, that's a little development as to my life. I will say it's very interesting seeing the developments of AI in the software engineering space as it's been happening, especially being at the manager level now, where I don't really code all that much, and when I do, it's usually like a tool I'm building for somebody, or I need to go and run a query against the front end to kind of see some metrics or something like that. And AI can be very beneficial to getting you to that point much quicker than you did previously. So it's yeah, I know it's kind of amazing actually to think that ChatGPT is like is it 2 years old at this point? Maybe three. It's not that. It hasn't been that long. And how much like the industry has changed in the last few years. Um, yeah. Setup time for what? What are we setting up time for, Michael? Yeah. You as a special guest on the podcast. Oh, yeah. Send me an invite. I didn't realize that you are still doing that. Um, yeah, or I didn't realize you had a podcast. I know you had a blog. But yeah, message me on LinkedIn, and we can. I do a guest spot on the podcast. I don't mind. I got opinions, and I like hearing myself talk sometimes. So it's, uh, you know, it's funny. Speaking of podcasts, Eric and I, and this is on me, have talked. We actually, so Eric, program with Eric on YouTube. Speaking of which, is he still doing things? Um, but yeah, Michael, I'm definitely interested. He stayed with me not too long ago, and he was in town for a conference, and we recorded a podcast. So we keep saying we're gonna like uh go and like restart the do one more season of the podcast. Yeah, I'm just having trouble getting back into that and finding time and energy. I think maybe that's just something that's oh, it looks like he hasn't posted a video for 3 months. Um, let's see. Yeah, it looks like about a year ago he stopped doing the stuff. Am I using ChatGPT Pro? For the most part, I use the free version, but my work has licenses to various AI tools, so I do use those on a regular basis. But in my personal life, I just use free ChatGPT. Um, but I mean, they are getting better and better, and it's changing, and like, uh, it's it really is astounding how much AI. You know, there's all this like talk about AI and how it's gonna like impact the world, and if it's like overhyped and whatnot. I don't know the answers. Obviously, no one does, but I really do think that like we could be in the beginning stages of this stuff, and similar to how like the internet exploded commerce and the internet connected the world, and it just had this profound, lasting effect. That the same thing is true for AI. Like if you really think about, let's see, I'm 37. I'll be 38 in October, and the internet. When did AOL dial-up come out? I think I might have been like I remember playing like StarCraft on dial-up. Okay, so in the early 90s is what the internet is telling me. So that sounds about right because I think, when did StarCraft come out? StarCraft came out in 98. Okay, so the late 90s, I was playing on dial-up internet. StarCraft. Uh, and it is like it is like, I mean, really think about that. Think about when you're connected to the internet. E-commerce wasn't a thing. Now we have things like Google and Amazon and social media, and um, you know, we have smartphones. So like a lot has changed in 30 years. For like you have sort of in the palm of your hand all the knowledge of the world, and now we have like an entity that has knowledge of the world and intelligence of everything. And it's only getting better, and like it looks like robotics are coming not too far. We have driving, self-driving cars, you know. So it'll definitely be like the thing that I think about is how is the world going to change in ways that we haven't even thought about. Um, you know, like maybe in 20 years we're all gonna have like robotic butlers. I mean, for real, like I would spend 50 grand today for a in-house like robotic cleaning lady that actually did like I've bought like three of those Roombas, three different brands, and none of them work very well for very long. Especially when you have like look at my floor right over here. Um, that is like I have shit laying all over the house. My dog toys, my dogs. You know, I work from home, so it's like sometimes there might be like plates on the counter or there might be like clothes on the ground. But we very well could have like one of those Optimus robots that like Elon's working on, or someone else. Like it doesn't have to be Tesla. I don't care who it does. But where for the price of a car, you have a live-in like cleaning lady. I mean, I have a cleaning lady and a gardener that comes every month, and that's $300 right there. That could I pay $50 in electricity to go have a robot do it with the power AI and like if you've seen any of the latest Boston Dynamic robots that can break dance and do flips and like all this other stuff, um, yeah, it's kind of nutty. Um, but I think my point being is that like yeah, there are probably physical limitations of hardware, but the software I think historically has been a big limiting factor, and like it does seem like with AI that and like self-driving cars, it's not too far off, which would be nice. But yeah, happy 4th of July for those that are celebrating it. I have today off, unless I get paged in for some reason, uh, and the weekend's a 3-day weekend. Um, hey Dylan, longtime viewer. I remember when you worked remote in Florida, and that's currently my dream. Yeah, I've been working remote for let's actually check the LinkedIn. I was gonna say 5 years. It might have been 6 years. Um, let's see. Uh, because I've been working remote since I worked at PwC, other than like the first 3 months. So this is my third remote job. So May of 2019. How long ago? 6 years too. I guess I've been working remote for 6 years, which is nuts. Um, yeah. Yeah, you can land. I mean, there's a lot of jobs hiring remote. You know, uh, you can definitely do it with 3.5 years of experience. I really and like here's the whole thing. My suggestion. This is all right. This is my take on remote work. As someone who's done it now for the majority of their career and for the last 6+ years here, is that uh, understand early on in your career you want to leverage those resources so that you can grow and be next to you know smart individuals. There's a big benefit of that. So there's that. Two, you want to find a remote culture. Like there are places that will hire remote that kind of suck at doing remote. So like when I was at Amazon, they didn't really do a great job of like having a remote culture. It was also COVID time, so I'm cutting them some slack. It wasn't like they planned to have a bunch of remote engineers. So like, but I do think that's important. It's one thing I think my current work does very well is how it manages. Yeah. And then also understand that like one of the things that I've like, especially being single this last year, I've been single about a year now. I'd say it's been, I'm the only person in my family on the East Coast. a lot of my social life came from my spending time with my previous partner and like her family that was in the area, and like social settings and things like that. That like make sure that you have that a strong foundation there, because that's been very difficult for me. Um, if you don't already, so like because a lot of people, I mean, the reality is a lot of people meet their partners from work, they meet their friends from work, and when you work remotely, it's a little bit harder because it's actually in a little bit, it's a lot of bit harder because you're essentially you're like, hey, I need to meet someone outside of work. And in my case, it's kind of hard because most of my friends are engineers, so we're a little bit more introverted, and also most of my friends are like married with kids, so we don't see each other as much. So I would say like think about that when you're going remote. Now, positives of remote are great. You're immediately going to have like a net increase in terms of like your hourly compensation. Not necessarily because like you're gonna get paid more. You might, but um, there's some video I did a while back saying like, hey, this is like what my hourly kind of went up at, because it saved me like 90 minutes or something like that a day. Gator, Gator, stop it. It's okay. The dogs, the meds haven't kicked in yet for the dogs. Hey Mackie, but yeah, so like with the remote stuff, you'll immediately start making more money. You will immediately in terms of like hourly, you'll have some more hours back in the day, which allows you to like manage your health better, or like whatever your priorities are. Um, you know, and also make sure that you have good like work life balance, because for a lot of people, it can be very stressful to it can be very stressful to always be on, because like my laptop's like right here. uh, when your office is also the same place as your home, that comes with some challenges. That's also why I'm selling my property also. So like um, it's like when you work from home, you need to allocate. At least I do. So like you can see my office like is the dog den, and it's like my office here. But you need to allocate a certain amount of space, or at least I do, where I'm like, hey, this is where I go to work, right? When I sit down, like I lock in, and this is how I make my money. This is how I support myself. And if like there's one thing that's going right in my life, it's just career and like finances, which is nice, a nice box to check, but it's also not very fulfilling. But anyhow, I digress about my personal problems. The point I was trying to make is that um, I think if you want to be like very successful at remote, because like one of the challenges you'll have also is people who are in person tend to get more face time with people who decide decisions on your career and how you progress, unless you're at like a truly remote company. Um, so you really want to make sure that you give yourself space to lock in and make sure that you sit down and you work and like do your thing. So for me, I need more room. I like my house to be kind of my. Oh God, 1 second. What was that? This is my neighbor telling me that he's lighting fireworks tonight. uh, anyhow, um, But yeah, make sure you have room for stuff. As far as ramping up with a team's code base with remote, if you struggle ramping up with a code base, period, I don't think remote or not remote is going to matter. I think any new job takes a little bit of a ramp up period. It's actually one of the things that I think is one of the harder things as a manager is like gauging if someone's ramping up or if they're kind of slow. You know, my kind of gut instinct on this is 90 days, sort of 3 months. Like if you're not about at 75% of your capabilities by about 3 months in a code base, then it's probably got nothing to do. It's probably got nothing to do about working remote or not. So you should be pretty effective pretty quickly. Um, but yeah, I have loved working remote. It does come with its own challenges, but those challenges are more unique to me about limited social circle and all that sort of stuff. Hey, Subham Das, hello. Um, but yeah. Am I still at ClickUp? Yes, almost 3.5 years now. I'm hoping to go and land that senior EM role here in the next 6 months or a year. We'll see. I am currently managing about 20 engineers, so I have quite a bit underneath me between two teams. I got a second team recently that I am sort of interim engineering manager. But yeah, I really like working at ClickUp. If I'm being honest, that's why I've been there for so long. There's been a lot of growth opportunities. I will say I've never grown more as an engineer than I have at this company. I also really just like the culture. It's a kind of get shit done culture, and like if you have strong ownership, they really allow you to thrive in that environment, which is something I kind of like. Just let me cook. You know what I mean? As kids say, let me cook, and everything will kind of work itself out. Yeah. Am I playing the games today? No. All my time, effort, and energy is put into other outside of work is put into kind of trying to be as attractive as I can in terms of a partner. I've been going lots of dates, all that sort of stuff. So that's like um the video games distract from that. So I watched a couple documentaries recently. I forget what it was called, but it was basically about the Canadian mayor in Ontario that was like smoking crack. It was like a 1 hour documentary. Uh that was a lot of fun. The Man with 1,000 Children, that was another good one. What else did I watch? Yeah. Any tips on how to nail a promotion from junior to mid-level developer? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think my general advice when you're a junior engineer is that you should be jumping companies early on. One for like promotions, like those junior to mid to senior promotions, and two, for growth. You usually can learn at most. Again, one of the reasons I've been at ClickUp is I've been learning so much, and it's like when you really get into a SaaS company and a product where you have so many unique circumstances that you're building things out for, that you get introduced to problems that you're not going to get on the average web application, right? So um, you might be working on performance, you might be working on latency, you might be working on feature sets, things that have paywalls. You might be need real-time updates with WebSockets. You might have streaming. You might there's so many problem sets uh, with such a diverse product in in the SaaS realm that it's very interesting and engaging. That's not really always going to be the case as a when dealing with your first junior level job. So you really want to jump around, get those pay raises, get those promotions, get that knowledge, because you can learn at most companies about 75% of what you're going to learn there in the first year. So, but um, yeah, talking about those Netflix docs like the Poop Cruise and the Yes, I did just I actually so I have been told to go watch the Travis Scott concert disaster. I haven't got to that one. I did watch the poop cruise one, which was pretty hysterical. um, yeah, no. I think that's like what people who don't like cruises never been on. Think of it. Do you think the industry is over indexing on AI taking jobs? Like many people feel the market is really tough right now. I don't think AI is replacing jobs and behind the slowdown. Hey, Josh. So I have my thoughts on AI are this. They're twofold. One, um, when COVID happened, there was a big rush to like secure all the engineers. So you had a lot of tech companies, a lot of SaaS companies that um, were hiring anybody and everybody and like locking down talent. Um, and because of COVID, a lot of companies that were not open to remote engineers were now open to them, and so a bunch of engineers came online or became eligible for that. So that's like the first thing to really consider is that there's a unique circumstances there's that allowed a influx of engineers to be available, and then companies were all trying to hire the talent that came available. So a lot of people got hired that normally wouldn't. And when I say normally wouldn't, I mean like kind of to your point about Amazon 5 days return to office. Like that's happening because I hired a bunch of people. There's like companies have ways of like laying you off without laying you off. So like one way is to like tell people who you previously told remote or like sold something to. They would say, hey, you have to go in the office and like try and get them to leave. Like if you go, I think when I was working at Amazon, we didn't actually lay anybody off. We just stopped hiring. And so naturally people left just, for different job opportunities, for different, whatever, for whatever reason, people left and they just don't backfill the positions. And then their workforce decreased over time. Right. Now, as far as with that background, as far as AI taking engineering jobs, I look at it in a different way. What I would say is that existing engineers are becoming more productive, and thus hiring has slowed. And the other thing, and what I mean by that is like, let's say I have 10 engineers on my team pre AI, right? And as we go and we build out these AI tools, let's say they're 15 more percent effective every year, which I think is actually probably pretty accurate. I'm sure there's like some people, we're kind of using made up numbers, but like you get the point. Let's say ChatGPT has been around for 3 years, whatever it is. First year, people didn't necessarily pick it up. So let's say the average engineer was 5% more effective. By year two, people are seeing the benefits. More people are converting to this idea that, hey, I need to build this in my workflow. Now that year two, people are 15% more effective. By year three, these tools have gotten better. People are more accustomed to it. They're 15% more effective. Why is that relevant? Well, from my perspective, no one's job got taken out. Like no one, you're able to write more, like you're able to write more software, do more things, and your tools allow you to be more effective. You've now had higher impact and are able to have higher impact, and you're maybe able to do more projects than you were before, which means that you don't have to hire as much. So I think really what's happening with AI from an industry perspective is that your existing engineers can do more. So like if you're already hired and you're already effective, you can do more, which actually makes you more sticky in the sense of like layoffs and things like that, because like the code base, you're effective. The other thing with AI that I think goes untold, like doesn't get talked about enough, is that you have a lot of people using AI to write code that like have never written code before. And why that's like super relevant is you don't necessarily know if you're a non-software engineer writing code with ChatGPT or something like that, or Cursor or whatever people are using. Where where people get in trouble, like in the junior engineer realm, is they don't even know what like it's just a copy pasta, and they don't really even know what they're like looking for. That you could like maybe make the argument like junior engineers, like, hey, they did it on Stack Overflow, this or that. But like, here's the thing: is like when you're looking at Stack Overflow, you never ever get the exact use case you're looking for. In AI, they'll do their best to answer your exact use case. and take in prompts and take in more examples, and you can do a whole, you can provide it a lot of context. And so you get something that spit out that junior engineers don't necessarily understand what it is they're getting back. So do I think people are over indexing on AI taking jobs? Yeah. I think there's like certain jobs that were always going to go away as technology advanced, and now AI is just like the catalyst to make that more common. And I think you see that with like um, help desk type people, like where you call in and they answer questions. Chat bots are now replacing that, or like the AI in there. I think you have essentially, you're seeing it right now with Uber and things like that, where a lot of people like a lot of people make their money in the US anyhow with these side hustles. Side hustles being like Uber Eats or driving Uber or Amazon Flex or whatever. I just saw a thing the other day around Amazon just hit their 1 millionth robotic employee or whatever. And that is only going to increase over time. Um, so there are going to be things that are going to, like, industries that will be disruptive. I think the ones that you like obviously think of are like cashiers, but that's already been happening, right? Like, so you have like these self checkouts. I think you're going to see these like Uber type jobs, or you're like driving your car around to deliver packages or food or things like that. That's going to be taken over. That's more of a robotics and AI aspect. I think there's copy, like you've already seen copywriters and things like that. Like I think was it like a year or two ago, BuzzFeed laid off like 75% of its staff because it's like, oh, AI just writes our articles or not, like, you know. Um, so uh, it's just one of those things where where do I think people are over indexing on it? Sure. Yeah. Do I use AI tools in current workflow? Yeah, it depends. I mean, I'm a manager, so there are things that I need to like. I have I don't have all that much time. I got a lot of meetings. I do some investigations. I try to educate myself pretty quickly on things. And so like AI is really good to like give me a summary of like, hey, this what do I need to know about this topic, and like how is it relevant to what I'm trying to use, or is it? And so I do use AI on a regular basis, like a daily basis for my job as an engineering manager, and I imagine most of the engineers I work with. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting, brave new world. I do think it would be a bit challenging starting my career right now, where you have like, I think we're like the golden age of just everyone getting a job in engineering and coding boot camps, and like that might be over because engineers can be more effective. Like the reality is, if engineers are getting 10 to 15% effective a year, like workforces don't necessarily grow more than that. Like, like if you have, let's say you have 1,000 engineers at your company, and you were going to hire 150, that'd be a 15% growth rate. But your existing engineers are 50. Your existing engineers are 15% more effective. You might only hire 50. And so like your net positive might be you have 1,200 engineers this year, but like really you're only paying for 1050. I think that's a lot of what's going on with a lot of this stuff. But yeah, the reality is like, who knows? There'll be other jobs, right? Like you have AI engineers, you have people who are like literally building the stuff, you have people building tools around it. You know, these sort of jobs that can be automated will, um, you will, you know, there'll be other opportunities to maintain some of the robots, engineering jobs, stuff like that. Like, don't you can't fight progress. It's not a winning strategy to fight technology over the long term, especially when like people enjoy it and leverage it and use it. Like ChatGPT has billions of users at this point, or hundreds of millions. I forget what it is. Like, let me actually go to this. How many users does ChatGPT have? 2025. Uh, as of July 2025, ChatGPT has 485 million users. That's crazy. Um, with that in mind, do you think you'll work in this field until retirement? Yes. I don't think like the industry is going away as a whole, but like you have to remember that you know uh, um, that engineering job spiked and now it's like normalized. Um, but yeah, I don't think I don't think AI is going. I know there's this like big thing about how AI is going to be writing software, this or that, and like um, I'm not too like and like it helps write stuff, but it's so hard nowadays. Like you want to see how like bad AI is? Try and get it to write some complex CSS in an existing app and see how that goes. It's like it's impossible. Um, yeah. Uh, so, but yeah, no. If I was to pivot, I'd probably pivot into something that would allow me to work more with my hands. I've always thought about like being an electrician would be an excellent career path. That is something that's going to high demand. It's something that you can work for yourself or pick up extra work for somebody else. You can also like starting your business, like you know, if you're competent, you can really. So that might be something that I would go to. But my hope is that uh, I'm saving enough and investing enough that if I ever feel like my industry just collapses completely, that I'm either have advanced my career and I'm financially in a position where like it doesn't really matter. Yeah. What do I think about AI rappers? Um, I think leveraging AI to build a product and service is fine. I mean, I feel like it's kind of a derogatory term if I'm being if I'm being honest. Like, just because you're using Chat GPT to build your product, or you're using OpenAI, or Gemini or whatever, that you know does it make your company any less valuable? No. Like people build things on top of stacks, and AI is part of the stack, and I think it's kind of a just a derogatory like you're not a real product. You're just a product built on top of a product, which I don't think is all that great. Any tips for how a software developer can seek another role in the current market? The biggest tip I can give you is really put a lot of time and effort into your LinkedIn, your resume, or your GitHub. That's usually the main thing I focus on when I take on engineers as a mentor. And you can find me on Mentor Cruise as well, or just Google Dylan Israel or find me on there. I can help you with that. But that is where people struggle, as well as consistency in terms of filling out apps. What are your thoughts on engineers who feel undervalued, not because of their performance or technical abilities, but due to team dynamics, internal politics that seem to limit their opportunities for promotion and growth? Two thoughts. I would think that like one, I would really ask myself is this a external thing or is this an internal thing? Because sometimes a lot of these things are in our head, we don't even know it. So I'd really like try and be honest about that and ask questions, hard questions to your boss, whoever it is. Second thing, I would say consider external teams. Move. It's easier to move within in a company than external company. So I'd look at that if you think that's a possibility. Now, if this is like a company wide thing, then kind of I guess the third option is it's time to go. Like I'm not, even as a manager, I can have some impact on company culture, and I do. But I am not going to change the entire company culture. Like that's a CEO, CTO. That's like real leadership position downward. Those are company values. So I would consider just it's sometimes it's just easier going elsewhere, get a raise, get a promotion, go into a better environment. Do you think the demand for IT workers at data centers will be a lot more? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know too much about that industry. That's like another interesting thing where like I wonder if that's already been like gutted by the cloud. So, have I ever done any contracting or side programming work outside of my normal gig? Yes, I have. The only thing I would say about that is you might want to just double check with your work, and you also want to make sure it's not in the same domain. If you're not going to double check with your work, but yeah, you should just make sure you're good to go. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Our ADA, I think one thing that it's like you need to really understand, and so I had this we had hurricanes last year in Florida. I was supposed to go give a talk in Orlando, and my talk was called "The Path to Staff." And I had a couple slides in there talking about how like your impact changes as a staff engineer versus a senior engineer. Like senior engineer is very specific about technical capability, while staff engineer is about high level problems and up leveling other engineers around you to be more effective, to being essentially a force multiplier. Um, so I would really kind of hone in on that and make sure you're having the impact that you're thinking you're having. Um, how do I lock in on leak code instead of watching the stream? You just got to do it. All right, guys. Happy 4th of July. I wish you the best. I need to get back to the grind of swiping on dating apps and lifting weights and all that, all that stuff, and working on my mental health. And yeah, I hope you are all doing well. I'm doing okay. Career is good. Social needs to do better. Dating needs to do better. Um, I gotta go out there, find the love of my life, one terrible date at a time. But anyhow, hopefully you have some fireworks. Hopefully you have like some hot dogs, hamburgers, or enjoy whatever it is that you enjoy doing. Appreciate you all. See you in about 6 months, maybe. We'll see. I'll respond back to you also, Michael, about the podcast. I saw your message on LinkedIn. Bye.